Hey everyone, this is George Couros. Welcome back to a solo episode of the Innovator's Mindset podcast. And this week's episode is about a book I've been reading called The Pivot Year by Brianna Wiest. And it is actually a book that is just in basically one and a half pages for the entire year. And even though it is meant for like reading once a day, I'm just not that type of person. So I read it until I'm done reading for the day. And one of the goals I had, I think it was probably 2-3 years ago, was try to read 10 minutes a day, every single day. And when I was doing that, I felt really good. I felt less anxious and something that I really appreciated doing. And in full disclosure, I actually totally fell off that habit last year. I did it sporadically, but not at the same consistency. So this year, I wanted to do that. And with those one-page books, it's easy because, if I read one page, I've done some reading for the day, but I rarely read only one page. And so typically I'll read, 10, 15, 20 pages throughout the day. And it's an interesting book. It's a quotable Instagram type book. But there's things that in it have really struck me, and I wanted to share them with you. And this is based on an email that I sent out on January 25th. You can actually see the link down below. And some of my takeaways from the book. And the reason I picked this book up, and I know the exact date I picked it up, was January 1st, 2025. I picked this book up and another one is because I wanted this year to be so much better. A pivot year, right? A pivot year. Because last year sucked. It was just not for me. I didn't have a good year. And I'm not a big New Year's resolution person. I've never been that. I try to keep my habits. I like to actually build momentum into the year so that I'm not just starting something January 1st. But I just needed this year, I needed on December 31st, I needed the calendar to change. Just change on last year. As many of you know, at the beginning of my year, you can see the picture if you're watching this on YouTube. At the beginning of 2024, around February, my dog Odin passed away from cancer, and I had him for over a decade, a little bit more than that. And then in November, I actually lost my other dog Cooper, who I also had for over a decade. And her and Odin were like best friends, and she also passed away from cancer, and it was very unexpected. Odin was older, so it wasn't as shocking, even though it was really a struggle. And Cooper was a little bit threw me off. And the year, as kind of the year progressed, it was, it's something, it is really interesting because I had a great year professionally. I did some really great events. I felt my speaking had been really kind of solid. I really am enjoying writing the content that I've been writing, but there was just something missing personally, and I was really struggling with that. So when Cooper got cremated, they basically sent the ashes to the vet, and I just couldn't get them. For whatever reason, I just couldn't bring myself going there. So on December 31st, I remember going to the gym and thinking, okay, today I got to go get the ashes today. I have to go pick them up today because I can't have this going into next year. And I went, got the ashes, and sat in my car outside the vet, cried. It was a tough moment, but for whatever reason, I felt some closure. And it's not that I don't miss my dog. It's not that I'm just okay. I got those ashes and I'm good, but I just felt it was kind of a signifying moment, not for an ending, but for a new beginning. So on January 1st, I don't know what happened. I just woke up motivated. I'm like, I gotta get myself out of this. And a lot of times we're waiting for a text. We're waiting for something that we see, a book that we read to kind of snap us out of it. And those things can help, but ultimately it is your actions. It is you going on and doing something to actually get yourself out of this, right? I can't remember, the Stoic philosopher basically said, the same way up is the same way down. So a lot of the things that I really struggle with, I thought, okay, I know what makes me struggle, so I know what will actually make me prosper. It's typically the opposite, which is like the George Costanza method, do the opposite of what you think. So on January 1st, I actually picked up pivot year and another a book as well. And it's something about like overthinking. I can't remember the title off the top of my head. I apologize, but I will link it down below if you're interested, because that one is a really good book as well. So January 1st comes along. I go to the gym, and then I decide I'm going to start at the coaxing of my friend Megan Lawson, right? She said, I love the fitness stuff you do. You know, you should really think about being a fitness influencer. And I don't want to be a fitness influencer unless you want me to be fitness. If somebody says, no, I just really appreciate my health. So I decided that for the month of January, for 1 month, I would see what it would be like to basically just share some advice, try to keep it 1 minute videos. And I actually linked my TikTok down below as well. And just share some things that have helped me. And the purpose was, I know this sounds weird, it wasn't really to help others. It was to help myself. And I knew that if I shared these ideas and I posted them, there would be some accountability for me to do what I was saying. So it was like, hey, try to help yourself. And if it can help others, great. But this might actually help you get out of your way. So every time I do those videos, I have to think about something. You know, I share something, a lesson I learned in the past, something that I'm reflecting on right now. And it's something that's really helped me. So this has been like a big pivot year for me as well. And, you know, as I'm recording this, and I know this, and I just did a video on this today, I'm in Alexi Papa, she's an Olympian. She talked about, you know, you're basically when you're chasing dreams, when you're chasing goals, you're always in thirds, right? You're either a good third, an average third, or a bad third. I'm in a good third. I like the third I'm in right now. I want it to stay forever. I don't want the bad third to come. But I know it will. I know. And even though, and we say this like, hey, things are going well. There's things in my personal life that, you know, maybe not the greatest, but it's just for my training, for some of my goals, I feel like I'm in a good third. And so I wanted to share some of the quotes that really resonate with me from Wiest's book, The Pivot Year, and how they've helped me and hopefully how they can help you, because I feel some momentum. And, you know, when I find some success, personally, I like to share it with others, not because I'm bragging, but I know somebody else is struggling the same way. I received a really wonderful message from my friend Allison Apsey today after this email, and she probably coaxed me. She didn't say to do this, but she said that someone she knew had reached out to her and said how powerful this email was to her and how much it helped, because she had also been struggling. And so when I find some success, it is not to brag when I'm sharing it. It is hoping that I can help somebody else who might be going through some of the same feelings I have. And I know that the audience is so vast and, you know, so different in our experiences. I know it's helping somebody, but you might be in a good space and you're like, I don't need this right now. You might need it at some point, because guess what? Whatever you're feeling now, it'll go away, whether it's good or bad or average, right? And that's kind of thing that I've always embraced, and kind of knowing that has helped me. So here's the first quote from Brianna Wiest that stuck out to me. Move toward the people who expand your perimeter of possibility, who believe in your potential just a little bit more than your reality. One of the things I've really embraced, and I've shared this, and it's similar to the sentiment, is that be the reason someone has the irrational confidence to go on to do something great. I was thinking about this quote in relation to this year myself. Megan Lawson, as I mentioned earlier, she coaxed me to, you know, kind of start those videos. And I don't know if it's helping anybody of the 3 or 4 people who watch it. AJ Giuliani, him and I were, you know, just connected with each other. We were at a conference together, and I talked about a presentation I felt really good. And he said, you need to write a book about it. And I had thought about writing a book about it, but I needed someone to say, go do it. I just needed someone to say that in AJ, because I trust him, you know. Well, I was like, yeah. So I've already written a chapter in a new book that hopefully will be coming out early next year, if not late at the end of 2025. And I found like a real passion in this. And I think it's because that confidence that AJ had in me. Even as I mentioned, this podcast today was because Allison Apsey sent this really nice message to me. So Allison, if you're listening, thanks so much. And I think that to me is, who do you surround yourself with, right? Who looks to you and can see that thing in you that you might not see in yourself. And I've just been really blessed to have people in my lifetime who have lifted me up and made me feel I can achieve something that I wasn't necessarily quite ready to do, but they gave me the confidence to go for it. And sometimes you go beyond even what their expectations are, which is wonderful. Here's the next quote, and it kind of is connected to the last one. You're not meant to remain one static character within your life. When someone says to you, you've changed, you should reply, how have you not? This quote really hit me. And I'll give you an example of this in the teaching profession. Someone has aspirations to go into administration, and maybe they do that in their own school. And I always discourage people, if you're going to be an administrator, try not to be in your own school, because there's going to be some jealousy there. There's going to be some envy there. And I'll give you an example of one of the things that is obvious, that there is jealousy. Oh, you went to the dark side. If you become an administrator, you're not an evil person. You don't just hate kids all of a sudden. And I think that's a perception. But a lot of times what people actually are saying that is not because they're uncomfortable with you moving forward. They're uncomfortable with them sticking in the same spot, that they're stuck. And it's not that they want to be that or whatever, and they don't necessarily realize that time. And I'm not saying it's all the time, but it's a lot of the time. It's way more than we account for. When we see people in our same area, when we see people in our same school who go on to do great things, there's this kind of feeling, like even in our own, even the towns, the communities we grew up in, it's like, how did they do it? And why am I stuck here still? And if you really want to excel, be thoughtful of when you share good news with people, how they react. Those closest to you, if they're not celebrating it, they might not be your circle. You can keep connected with them, but they might not be the people you share that information with in the future. And it's oftentimes not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of them. And so I think about that all the time, is that the whole premise of life, where you really find value, is when you grow, is when you develop, and when you continue. And even sometimes, and I can't remember where I originally heard this, sometimes the people who care about you the most will actually give you the worst advice, because they are sometimes concerned that you will fail and you'll feel that hurt. And I think for me, the people who have really helped me accelerate, they know that I'm going to do it. I'm going to do what I do. And they will say, like, here are some things to consider. Here are some things that, whether they see me failing or not, they know that in my mentality, I'd rather try and fail than not to try, because I feel not trying is the biggest failure you can have. So who are those people who cheer you on when you have success? There is a video I saw. I apologize because I can't find it. It's TikTok. I was like, oh, it's a good idea about, 7 videos later, and then I could never find it again. And it said something that really stuck to me, is that when you look at, if you're people that are trying to create a channel, it takes your friends 0 money and honestly very little time to like and comment on it, to help, expand that. And why don't they? And, I've had people, when I've written books that I grew up, who were really good friends of mine, made fun of me for writing a book. And it's kind of a weird thing, right? Like it doesn't make me dislike them, but it hurts. And I'm not trying to impress those people in my life, but that's just an honest reflection, is that we want people in our circle who cheer on our success, and we can, and aren't kind of happy when, things don't go well. And that to me is like, you have to be very cautious of this. And as I get older, my circle gets smaller, because, that there's a lot of that. And there's a lot of that in the profession. One of the things I've always advocated for is that, how do we actually lift up people in our own community? We always talk about the expert across, the world, but we don't acknowledge the expertise in the hallway. And I apologize, probably a little personal why I'm sharing, because I feel this is really, something I've always struggled with. And, you want people that, you grew up with to be happy for you. And let's be 100% honest. I can't say I've been 100% on this myself. So like, anyone I'm pointing a finger at, I could point back that finger to myself as well. And it's something I think talking about it makes me want to be better about it to others, that when people come to me and share their excitement, do I, share that as well and help them to go even further than where they are right now. All right. Last quote. What feels on the surface like rejection is often redirection. When you ask for a big life, you cannot keep fighting for a smaller one to stay. Ooh, this one's good. I like this quote. Some of the best opportunities I've ever had in my life came after I didn't get something that I wanted. And the first one that I thought about was when when I wanted to become a teacher. My goal, and I joke about this, but it's true. I actually wanted to be literally, I wanted to be Billy Madison. I wanted to be in a kindergarten classroom, just play dodgeball with kids, have that kind of fun. And I know there's more to teaching kindergarten than playing dodgeball. And I don't even know if you're allowed to play dodgeball anymore, or, anyways. So I applied for a kindergarten position, and I remember actually in the interview, they kept asking me about something I did in university. I just made a web page, right? I didn't even know what I was doing. I got so much help. I did it once, and it was to be on the student council. They kept asking me about about what I had done in this kindergarten position. Well, I'm like, why do you keep asking about this? So what's interesting is that I thought I nailed the interview. I was really excited about it. And then they called me a day later and said, hey, we thought you were great. We decided to go with someone else. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm sure did you really think I was great? Why didn't you give me the job? So thinking that, and being new to the profession, I'm always one person who I want to get better. So I remember about 2-3 weeks later, I called them and I said, hey, do you have a moment? Because I actually would love some feedback. I'm new to the profession. I want to get better at this. And, I'm still applying for jobs. Can you give me some advice? And they're actually you were legitimately, you were great. And not only were you great, we actually have you, we were going to call you today because we wanted to offer you a high school technology position. I was like, what? It's so I had no interest in ever teaching high school. It's not something I ever wanted to do. I remember talking to my cooperating teacher in my internship. She said to me, I said, this is a terrible idea. And she's like, listen, it is hard to get a teaching job. That's how old I am, that there is a time where teaching jobs are very few and far between. She said, take the job, get your foot in the door. So I took it. And even though it was only for the last 2 or 3 months of the year, I took it and I really developed some understanding with technology because I had to teach this. I didn't know anything that I was doing, but because I knew a little bit at that time, a little bit of technology knowledge was a lot, and especially in the smaller community that I was in. And that high school technology job led me to the following year getting an elementary position with a halftime technology lead as part of it, because this guy's teaching technology. He must know what he's doing. So it kind of spiraled. And that rejection from the one job actually led to a totally different career that I'd never imagined. And, I remember there's jobs that I really wanted. There's opportunities that I wanted, didn't work out. And then it actually led to something way better. Sometimes out of spite, right? Hey, you didn't want me? Okay, I'm gonna make you feel really bad. I'm gonna make you regret this. So I'm I got a little of that Michael Jordan, make stuff up in my mind that I'm something, somebody didn't give me an opportunity and it was deserved. But I think sometimes you have to recognize that. And I believe that sometimes opportunity, when opportunity knocks, you still got to go through the door. So you still got to do something. It's not that, things don't go your way and then of course they will. You still got to be, assertive, look for the goals. So I really loved that quote. There was one last quote, and this is the bonus that I shared in the email from Brianna Wiest. You're not looking for anyone else to give you the answers. You're looking for what you already know to be reflected back to you. You already know it's true. In the book, Wiest talked about, and sometimes we go looking for advice, and it's not advice as much as just tell me that I'm on the right path. We're looking more for affirmation than advice. And I think, you have to kind of identify when are you truly looking for advice, and when do you just know that this is the path, even though others might not agree with it. You just got to do it. You just got to move forward. And I think there's a lot of times where someone said, hey, don't do this thing. I actually distinctly remember somebody gave terrible advice to a person and they totally disregarded me. And I'm so glad they disregarded me because they went on to doing something really successful, but I just didn't really understand what they were trying to do. And I'm glad they did, because that's sometimes you just know and you just got to go, just do it. So the more advice sometimes you get, the more you start to doubt yourself with the ideas and thoughts of others. So I just want to encourage you. You have those moments where you struggle, just go do it. Just go make it happen. And as we says, you already know it's true. thought this book's really great. I haven't read the entire thing in full disclosure. I've read about, I think, 75% of it. I'm actually I'm only 1 month in. It's January 25th when I'm recording this. And even though I'm supposed to read over 365 days, I just can't do it. But those little things, I think one of the things I really love about reading for me is doing this, writing an email about it, writing a blog post about it, doing a podcast. Here's something I encourage you to do. Comment down below. Share something that resonates with you from this podcast. Share an experience that you had. But if you don't do that, write a blog post, make a podcast, do something. It is way better to actually reflect openly about the books you read, share some of your takeaways, because then it will become part of your knowledge than to just read as many books as possible. I think if it just kind of goes in and out, it's not really beneficial. But if it comes in and then we create something that goes out, that's a totally different experience. So check out the book, The Pivot Year by Brianna Wiest. I'll share it down in the link below. But thanks for being here. I am committed to doing everything I can to make this the best year possible. And I know we say that. So like every year we want it to be the best year possible. But this is the comeback year for me personally, I hope. And if you're in that same space, I hope that something I shared with you all helped me or helped you, because I know it's helped me to be able to share this with you. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for being here. Take care.